And good Tuesday morning. It is Tuesday, October 13th, 11 a.m. We are chatting with Newport School Committee candidates today. And joining us this morning is Mr. Mike Cullen. And good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning, Ryan.
Had to make sure it was still morning. And let's see. Mike Cullen, in case people out there in Newport land do not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself as well as your background.
Sure. I'm an Army brat raised in Central California, went to UC Berkeley into the Air Force, flying aboard F-111 fighter bombers for 5 years and went through Harvard Business School, worked at General Electric, Aerospace Electronics.
Oh, Mike, we lost your audio for a second here.
Okay.
You're back now.
Okay. Yep. Stint at GE, then IBM for 24 years. And doing a lot of information technology stuff. Lived on the Point for about almost 30 years. My wife, Beth, who's running for city council at large. And we have one son, Mac, who's spent a couple of years in Newport Public Schools and is getting ready to head off to college. So I'm looking forward to serving on the school committee full time because I definitely have the tenure working on school issues and the time and a lot of talents to really improve our school system.
Mike, tell me why you chose to run for Newport School Committee.
Yeah, actually, this is my second run. And the second run, the first run was triggered because of my active leadership on 2 different charter school efforts that focused on the use of the STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics is the acronym, but integrated STEAM education. And I have to give a tip of the hat to your former guest, Becky Bolin, who actually worked very hard with us on the first STEAM proposal. So did Ida Neary, who's currently on the school committee. Why now? It's because for the last roughly 10 years, I've seen this fabulous opportunity set within the local community for our kids to get really high-paying, high-growth jobs around Rhode Island and on Aquidneck Island. But our school systems just seem really disconnected from the opportunities. They're disconnected from the skills that these employers, whether it's Electric Boat or it's FM Global Insurance, need in their marketplace today. And the schools are really uncoupled from it. Hence, the parents really aren't aware of the skills needed, and the kids are really suffering because they're disconnected. They feel as though that what they're learning in the classroom really isn't relevant.
Priorities, if elected, that you would hopefully institute as a committee member.
Yeah, there is a fabulous opportunity. And as I look into the crystal ball in 3 weeks, I think there's going to be a profound change in the complexion of the Middletown Town Council along with the school committee that is going to openly embrace having very detailed conversations with the city of Newport and the Newport public school systems. I know most Newporters are fixated and focused on that really ugly episode in front of the town council of the Middletown Town Council last year, which slammed the door in the face of all of the Newport people who are in the town council chamber. And priority number 1 is going to be having a really serious conversation on that study. Not simply a check the box exercise that was done several years ago by well-meaning people, but it's going to be a conversation not just led by elected people, but it has to be led and really mentored by business leaders. We have local Navy admirals who would be interested in jumping into this. We have local bank executives who are capable of jumping in and really providing the leadership and this connectedness that is needed to these 21st century jobs. I appreciate our hospitality industry, folks, but there is so much more for our sons and daughters to be looking at well beyond the hospitality sector. So that is number 1. Number 2 that's related to it is we have to do something about Rogers. And I am a staunch opponent to the school bond. because I see the opportunity sets mid-island. The kids live on the north end of Newport. They don't live at 15 Wickham Road any longer as they did 60 years ago. The center of gravity for a population is now mid-island. It's not just the population, but the business opportunities, the career opportunities, the internship opportunities. All of the non-government organizations that can support the kids are all mid-island. They're not at 15 Wickham Road any longer. So I view the current bond on the high school side as a terrible waste. Is there a need? Absolutely, but it is a profound waste of $96 million. And at the same time, the Pell School edition has been really undersized. I've attended a bunch of the building meetings, and I can tell that both projects, both the Pell project and the Rogers project, have been shoehorned into an artificial state budget. It means that the community really hasn't evaluated the total needs of both schools and said, this is the amount of money we really need for both projects. And we're going to invest even more local money, even recognizing there may not be a state subsidy for that additional money. We need to invest the right sums of money in both schools.
Mike, walk me through. So you, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, are asking people to vote no on question 2 on Newport school bonds. So we get to that, and then, what are your hopes for the future of Newport schools, if it's voted down? How do we make sure? Are we hoping that Middletown Town Council changes, then wants to have regionalization talks? What are the hopes for Newport school children if we vote no?
Yeah, Ryan, I think there are 2 tracks. Again, if my crystal ball is accurate, and I've been having a lot of conversations with candidates for for Middletown Town Council, really, really sharp people who've been active in leading voter initiatives over in Middletown that got smacked down. I have very high confidence that some of the new candidates on the Middletown side, all of whom, by the way, support a regionalization study, I'm confident some of them will punch through. And even if they don't punch through, there's still some legal opportunities sitting in the background, legal triggers that can be pulled because of Middletown Town Council smacking down the properly built, created, fully signed off voter initiative, where 1,200 Middletown people followed their own charter, letter by letter, and by the spirit of their charter, and it got smacked down. There hasn't been a legal fight. That's in the works. I think there's been a reticence to actually pull the legal trigger because it would have profound implications on the November 3rd election over in Middletown.
Let me do the flip side now, Mike. You are elected to school committee. The school bond passes, which means the majority of Newport voters support the new school bond. As a new sitting school committee member, will you continue to push the talks of regionalization, or will you support the voters' wishes to move forward with the new Rogers High School?
This is where it gets tricky, Ryan, and that is, what are we voting for on local question number 2? When you read the words, just the words, we're approving an over $100 million general obligation bond that specifies Pell, it specifies a Rogers High School. People in the community via Nextdoor on social media are saying, well, there's nothing in the bond language that specifies Wickham Road. There's nothing in the bond that specifies when any of this will get built. So that needs exploration. So if the bond issue passes, my hope is that paths can be laid in the short term to move the high school students to much stronger academic opportunities in the near term, whether in Middletown or Portsmouth or North Kingstown High School, in the short term, 2 to 3 years. Beyond 3 years, my hope is that Newport bond money that might get approved in November gets used in concert with a regionalized high school over on the Middletown side, somewhere in the north end, somewhere in the south end of Middletown, something that is closer to mid-island. Now, the good news is Middletown has been looking at their school needs about every 5 years on a very comprehensive macro basis. So they've gone through the drills of how could they expand both their middle school footprint at Gaudet as well as their high school footprint. And they have lots of land that can be developed around both of those schools. So that is great news. And there's also opportunities to build up. So I think there's a array of opportunities that we haven't even discussed, because once that town council slammed the door last July, everybody on the school committee just got on the freight train and said, full steam ahead. We're blasting through with the school bond, and we're just gonna take the path of least resistance. Totally understandable strategy on their perspective, but I think that is a short-term solution, when the longer term is, what do we do over the next 60 years of educating Newport kids? Sending them to Wickham Road over the next 60 years, to me, is a very poor return on the voters' investment.
Do you think regionalization is the only way forward, or would you support any new high school in Newport?
I would affirmatively support a high school or something. I really, high school is a 19th and 20th century phrase, and I've been trying to train myself over the last year or so to look at the future of public education in much broader terms. And a lot of places in the US are calling them learning campuses, because they recognize that the education doesn't just stop at age 17 or 18 with the sheepskin diploma. It's going to continue for the next 50, 60, 70 years of their working life. So I use the phrase learning center, a lifelong learning campus. And I think there are opportunities in the North End as this RIDOT project moves forward to use chunks of land built up, go vertically. If a developer rolls into town, which they did, and said, we want to build a 90-foot building, well, maybe there's an opportunity to build a 60-foot learning campus that goes vertical, that could support not just kids the prescribed ride 180 days a year, but could support all Newport residents 365 days a year. And that's open 18 hours a day to help them reskill, to help the adults upskill, and to consolidate that in that sort of facility. Yes, there may be other facilities that may be in the south end of Middletown, though, that may be the athletic fields. I recognize that we're really space constrained in the north end of Newport, but you're only a 5 to 10 minute drive away from another Middletown facility.
How is campaigning during COVID going? What are you hearing from voters? What are you hearing from parents?
Yeah, my campaign has been primarily focused on trying to open up people's perspectives on the future of high school education. And you're probably aware, many of your voters are probably, listeners are aware, that I have been leading this effort called Vote No on the White Elephant, and have been leading a group of people, both Middletown and Newport, to make people aware of alternatives beyond the bond investment. And I see a lot of traction there, because people are recognizing that we do spend year in and year out over $42 million on public education. And a lot of people raise, well, what is the value that we're getting for that money? We look at test scores, and I know test scores aren't the end all and be all, but yeah, test scores are used for a lot of purposes all across the US at all levels of government. So I'm seeing a lot of folks who recognize that Newport students aren't really super competitive against their peers around Rhode Island, and Rhode Island in general. The public school students aren't sufficiently competitive against those from Massachusetts, from other parts of the country and other parts of the world. So yes, COVID has made it really, really difficult to get that message in, and particularly to the people who aren't plugged into social media. So for the folks who are aren't picking up the newspaper, aren't plugged in electronically. It's really, really tough.
It is. I gave the proponents of question one asking to approve this opportunity, so I want to give you the opportunity as well. Give your speech of why people should consider or vote no on question two as soon as they start voting, as soon as tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I just received my mail-in ballot a few days ago and cast it, and it's probably sitting back up in Providence. So the message to me is there's no hurry to punch the button and pass this bond issue right now. There is nothing preventing us. I think the community basically ought to just take a deep breath and pause 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and wait for changes to potentially take root in Middletown. So if we've had Newport Grand here for 20 or 30 years, we're used to the concept of gaming. So if I roll the dice, and if there's at least a 50-50 chance that there's going to be a radical change over on the Middletown side, why don't we just take that chance, take the pause? The state money, the state sweetener isn't disappearing this month, next month. The shovel doesn't have to be in the ground until December of 2022. I mean, that's still 26 months away. So why is it not prudent to just wait 3 weeks, wait to see what's taking place just 2 miles north of us in Middletown? And let's say nothing changes at all on the Middletown side. It is easy enough for us to schedule another bond election in spring of 2021, after we've all rolled up our sleeves and taken the vaccine. You can do a special election easily enough. Yes, there's a cost associated with it, but that cost is trivial compared to the bond issue. And it's trivial compared to the impact that bond issue is going to have over the next 60 years. 60 years worth of school kids going through the Newport school system is, it's well over 6,000 kids. So I think for the sake of 6,000 kids, why not just wait 3 weeks?
Not only are you asking for people to fill in the dot of no on question two, but you're also asking people to fill in the dot next to your name. Why should people vote for Mike Cullen for Newport School Committee?
Yeah, so the story for me is, if we in fact want to diversify our economy, and I started participating as a volunteer inside Newport schools in 1994, where the big theme back then was called School to Work. Now it's One Newport. Back then it was called School to Work. And I recognized around the table, my wife and I, Beth and I, were the only citizens in the community participating in that strategic planning effort. And I also saw that very few of the teachers had any understanding of the jobs available around here. That's what's so alarming to me, is how insulated the teachers themselves are from the opportunities that are out there and the skills that the kids really need to have in order to get these high growth, high wage jobs. So the message to voters is, if we want our kids to really, really super succeed in life and not just be happy and be sports fans, I'm the person who really has that connection back to the 21st century economy, and can be the advocate for the students and the parents, as well as the business community at the table. And more importantly, be that advocate in front of the city council that is going to be asked year in and year out for more and more money. I can make that business case. I can make the value proposition. And I think most of the peers, most of the incumbents right now struggle to do that because they're just not connected with the economy in the way that I am.
Mike, where can people go for more information on your campaign, as well as any other websites or contact information you want to give out for anything else?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Facebook, Mike Cullen. I also exist on Facebook as Mike Cullen Steam Advocate, Mike 02840. Or you can see information on me through my wife's Beth's campaign website, beth02840.com, beth02840.com.
All right, excellent, Mike. So what number are you on the ballot?
I am second from the last.
Okay, excellent. So that would be number 9.
Number 9.
Yes.
Yeah, Cullen.
So Mike Cullen, and you'll see him there, and you can find out more information right where he told you. And Mike, did we miss anything today?
There's a bright future, especially on that career tech ed side, and that should be viewed separate and distinct as a fabulous opportunity when people think about the high school. And the current footprint at Rogers High School is way too small for a really thriving CTE program. So I'd like voters to really think about the impact of making a yes choice on that bond issue.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mike. We wish you the very best of luck
Ryan.
in the upcoming election, and we will talk to you very soon.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ryan. Bye-bye.
All right. That is Mike Cullen. We thank him for joining us today and having a conversation about his platform as well as his priorities in his campaign. You can find out more information from the websites and Facebook pages that he mentioned. We've invited all Newport School Committee candidates to join us for a discussion. If you're looking for any particular candidate, want to learn more about candidates, want to rewatch this video, want to share this video with your friends, family, neighbors, enemies, you can find it all on whatsupnewp.com. I want to thank Mike again for joining us. We'll be back this afternoon with another couple discussions with Middletown Town Council candidates. Join us then.